And I think what most of us are being asked is how to be in the acceptance of our humanity, not in the ascension of it. And so when we can unshame that part of us that thinks we should rise above it or be better or know better, is when the compassion rises up and allows for us to fuck up and fail and forget and make,
Yeah.
that's when I feel most connected to God, to spirit, to myself. And
Yeah.
I'm in my most deeply surrendered state, right? Because I don't need to control my emotions. I don't need to control who I am. I don't need to control even what's happening externally. If I can be in the compassion for my humanity, then I can surrender because I don't need to be perfect anymore.
Welcome to Next Level You podcast. I'm Stefanie Dingbaum, your host, your biggest cheerleader, and your go-to girlfriend for real, raw, and uplifting conversations about leveling up in life. As a mental health therapist with over a decade of experience and a business coach helping women elevate their lives and businesses, I'm here to guide you through the mindset shifts, holistic practices, and manifestation tools you need to step into your most authentic, next level self. Whether you're here to ignite your personal growth, elevate your professional game, or simply rediscover you, this podcast is your invitation to dream bigger, go after your goals, and unapologetically claim the life you deserve. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. It's time to up-level, manifest, and glow.
Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Next Level You podcast. This is Stefanie Dingbaum, and this is a very special episode for me, you guys. I have a pretty big expander in my world anyways. Spenser Brassard here with me today. She is, like I said, a big expander in my world. But besides that, she's a life and fertility coach. She's the author of Fertile Ground. She's the host of the Fertile Ground podcast. Spenser Brassard is somebody who, when I was going through my 7-year fertility journey, I binged her podcast like crazy. I followed her on Instagram. I soaked up as much of her knowledge. I mean, I was literally to the point where I was ready to hit purchase for her program. And that was around the same time that we hit go with the adoption journey. And so it was kind of like, either I invest that money in Spenser's program or we put it into the adoption journey. And for those of you that aren't familiar, adoption costs anywhere from 20 to 30,000. So it was kind of one of those things that was like, what do you want to pour into right now? And her book specifically, really, I was already on my mindset journey. I mean, as a therapist, I don't feel that's ever something I'm not on, but I was very heavily in that journey of like adopting a healthier mindset in the fertility journey. And I thought I was in a really good place. And then her book cracked me open in ways that I was not anticipating. And if you're watching on YouTube, this is her book. And it
My baby.
was, yeah, it was your baby. It is your baby. And it was what I needed to hear in that journey. And I have now given it to friends that are in their own journey. And if you're going through any kind of a waiting journey, but specifically a fertility journey, you really should purchase her book. I can't speak enough good things about it. Okay. So, Spenser, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll just dive into the conversation?
Yeah. So my name is Spenser Brassard. I had an 8-year-long fertility journey. So very long. We share that in common. And we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility. God, what didn't we do to try and get
Yeah, I
we
bet.
we did like the standard like dieting and acupuncture and
Yeah.
to tarot card readings and like hypnotism to eventually IVF.
Okay.
And so we did it all. And into the journey, I realized that it was asking something deeper of me than just to become a mother. It was asking me to mother differently, not just my child, but myself. And so what I realized well into the journey was that I was tying my worth to my child. So I was just doing everything I could because then that baby would prove I had done it right.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
really worthy, and God deemed me worthy. And I finally saw those two pink lines. So I was like, a dog chasing its tail, like, I will do anything, I will sacrifice everything I love for this child, as so many as of us women are taught we need to do in order to be
Yeah.
mothers.
Yeah.
And so that isn't what ended up quote unquote working for me. And I would say my journey started actually quote unquote working out long before I got pregnant. It started working out when I decided to get into life coaching and fertility coaching. And the real reason why I did is because I realized that circumstances aren't what make us happy or at peace or joyful or worthy. That's an inside job. Like that is a not just a mindset, but a relationship with ourselves. And we can't look externally for that type of relief, for that type of validation. That's an inside job. And so I
Yeah.
actually became a fertility coach before I even got pregnant. And that was like a really hard decision to make because who would want to learn from me? But
Ooh,
I
that
actually
imposter
built,
syndrome. Yeah.
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 But so I took the risk and I was like, no, people want to learn from me because I'm not suffering anymore. Like, this is no longer the worst thing that ever happened to me. I'm confident walking into family gatherings now. I'm not hiding in the corner thinking people are judging me. Nothing's wrong for anyone who's listening who is feeling that way because I
Right.
remember it so clearly.
Right.
It's like I was actually learning how to take up space even still on the fertility journey. And I was like, oh my God, more people need to learn about this because
Yes.
my God, we can relieve ourselves of suffering without waiting for our babies to do that for us. And I think if we're tying our worth to our children now, we're going to do that when they're here.
Right.
And we're going to look to them to bring us happiness. And I think that's a pretty toxic relationship to get in right off the bat.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I became a coach and realized that people were like, no, I hired you because you're not pregnant yet. I invested in you because you're not pregnant yet. You know what this is.
Wow.
Trust you deeper. And I was like, oh, okay. Very, very cool. So what I thought was like the worst thing about me ended up being the best thing. And yeah, eventually we tried IVF that led to a miscarriage, which was really, really difficult, probably the lowest of lows on this fertility journey. Then a few months after that, we did an FET, which resulted in a not pregnant. And that was a really pivotal moment because I was like, no. Like I wasn't resisting the no. I was just I knew that everything that I was doing was not all for nothing. Like I could smell, taste, see, feel, sense every part of my of this baby. And I didn't know when it was going to come, but I knew it was coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just continued to live my life. I wasn't on hold
Mhm.
anymore. I was taking up space. I was doing my coaching thing. My husband and I were thriving. And yeah, 2 months after my FET, I was pregnant naturally with my son who's turning 6 this month. So it's
That's crazy. When's his birthday?
March 20.
That is crazy. You did not just say that. My
Okay,
son's birthday is March 29th. That is so crazy. Wow. I was like, oh, that'd be cool if they were like close. They are close.
yeah, that's
Wow.
amazing. So you have an Aries.
Yes. Yep.
Is
Yeah.
he is he like a go-getter? Is he fast? Does he move quick?
Well,
Like
he
mine
turns
mine is a ram
one.
through and through. He's
Yeah. He's
okay,
going to
yeah.
be one on the 29th. Yeah. So, I mean, we're starting to learn more and more about his personality, and it's like so interesting.
Yes, yeah. Well, we'll
Yeah.
see if he's the ram, the Aries
Yeah.
ice is. We're always like, "Beck, slow."
That is amazing. Wow. Good to know. Good to know. There's so many
Mhm,
parts of your journey that resonate with me because they're very similar. And what I like most about what you all shared is, we're constantly chasing after something, thinking, this is what's going to make me happy. This is what's going to bring me fulfillment. This is what's going to make me or give me joy in this lifetime. And you can keep chasing and chasing and chasing. But ultimately, if you can't, you have to go within to find that. It has to be inherent in you, not just the joy, not just the fulfillment, but also the self worth. And once you can get to a place where you realize you can't find self worth, you have to believe it's inherently given to you.
mhm.
That's where everything I feel changes. That's where it changed for me. And similar to you, like I had to make life enjoyable, whether we had that child or not. And that's the true surrendering that I feel like so many people struggle with.
Right.
months and months and months of binging your podcast, I was like, I would get in my head like, can't she do more episodes on surrendering? Like I would listen and re-listen to all the episodes on surrendering, and I'd just be like, can you just do more? Is there more I need to be doing? How
Yeah.
else? Give me a
That's, like,
blueprint.
probably the number one topic people wanna learn about myself,
Totally.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it's
Because
the number
we
one topic I wanted to learn about
I
when I
bet.
was trying to conceive.
Yeah. It's not like everybody wants that blueprint of like, how do I surrender? Break it down for me. Give me the steps. I'll follow it. The perfectionist within me is like, I'll follow it to a T. But it's not, I don't want to say it's not something you can't learn from somebody else, but it's how do you find joy? How do you find contentment? How do you find fulfillment in this current season that you're in, whether that's a baby or not?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point. I think we have to first acknowledge too how difficult that is to do in our culture, in our
Yeah.
hustle culture, in our culture that
Yes.
is obsessed with productivity, that is
Hmm.
obsessed with the status quo of always being busy, that is obsessed with being everything to anyone, everyone. And
Yeah.
so you're like, surrender? That doesn't fit. Like
Right.
it's so counterintuitive
Yeah.
to do less, simply
Hmm.
to rest, to know that you're worthy regardless of how much you got done in the day.
Yeah.
And that just feels so backwards in our, standard stereotypical culture of hustling and going and getting things done. So it's like surrender to me is really giving ourselves permission to slow down
Yeah.
enough to know what is it that I love? What is it that brings me joy? If it's not if I'm not looking to the baby for that right now, and if life is inviting me to find that internally, being able to give yourself permission to slow down enough to notice that is really, really important because we're so obsessed with tying our worth to our productivity and everything that we can get done in one day.
Yeah. I agree. The productivity thing is such a problem. And then also just like how society, at least when you're a young adult, leads you to believe like everything has to be a checked box. Like I graduated high school, then I graduated college, and then I got my big girl job, and then I met my spouse, and then I got married. And like okay, the next box that you check is naturally like having a baby. And then when that doesn't come as quickly or as easily as you had hoped, then you tell yourself you're failing. You tell yourself you're not worthy. You tell yourself all the things.
Mhm.
And it's a trap, like, it's quite literally a trap, because I don't know about you, but for me, it was like when we had finally gotten the call, I was out in LA for a business retreat to meet my then business coach, and, it was right after our plane landed that we got the call that we had been chosen by a birth mom to adopt her future child. Through that whole time, it had been made apparent to me that thank God we had to wait 7 years because I had to learn how to build a business that could be sustained while
Mhm.
having a baby. I had to learn like, the business had to become my baby. I wouldn't have 2 successful businesses. I wouldn't have a thriving podcast. I mean, there's all of these things that had to be built first. I wouldn't be the mom that I am today. I wouldn't be the entrepreneur that I am today. And so it's like certain things had to be built in my life
Yeah.
first before my family could be built, or
Yeah.
my growing family, I should say.
Yeah, and I think that what's really important because I think you and I, tell me where I'm wrong, but we would hear those kinds of things like, "Well, there are other things that want to be born first," and I would be like, "But I don't fucking want it.
Yeah. 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 That's right.
Just give me the baby." But the reality is that in the surrender of what life was asking and inviting us to have more of, which was actually more, not less, I think it's important for people to realize that the relief of all this pressure and shame and like it has to happen in order for me to actually be okay, that gets to go away now. Like you don't have to wait for that part to happen, for the relief to happen. I think and that's a huge distinction Because if we think we have to wait to feel good or to feel better, of course that's going to sound like torture. Of course that's going to sound like fuck off. You and I are living proof that the actual relief of everything that you're holding and all the responsibility and all the pressure you have to make it happen can be lifted
Hmm.
like very soon. That is not something that you have to hold. And so I think that's really important distinction to make because you're right. There are like they say, what is it that God answers either
Not
not
yet,
that
or
or like something better, you
yeah,
know?
yep,
And
yep.
for me, obviously we can say hindsight's 2020, but I kind of always knew on the journey that I was being gifted more, that I was being given more, that life wanted more for me because I came from a lineage of like really, stay-at-home moms that gave everything to their kids. And what I've learned is like, no, we get to be more than a mother. We get to have more. And actually that makes me a better mother.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
it's the best of both worlds. And it's a shame that we feel so much shame on the journey when actually what we're being invited into is something so much more fulfilling than if we got pregnant on our first try.
yeah. Oh, you said it perfectly. I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, it's crazy how after some time passes, and I'm sure you feel the same way, and you look back at your journey from truly now the outside looking in,
Mhm.
it's crazy how much clarity you
Mhm.
have now. For me, even just a year out, it's like wild, like the healing that I needed to go through. And like you said, the mothering that I
Yes.
needed to do for myself, the reparenting that I needed to do for myself. And also, I do very much believe like I've grown so much spiritually in the last year since becoming a
Yeah.
mom that I don't think I would have been gifted the same soul that I was gifted
Mhm.
had it happened sooner. Like Augie was ready for me it would have been March that we
Mhm.
got that call. Like he was
Mhm.
ready for me then. But
Mhm.
I don't know if 7 years prior he would have been. I mean, obviously he wasn't because it didn't happen. And so I don't know. I just think, and this isn't me pushing my views. I mean, you guys have your own views on spirituality and afterlives or multiple lives. If you don't believe in that, that's fine. But that's where my mind goes because it really does give me peace knowing that like his soul was ready at that exact time.
Yeah. You know what? One thing I heard that I thought was really, really cool is in the spirit world, they don't have time the way we do. So they're not
No,
like sitting around waiting for us. They're
no.
like, it's like a blip. It's like a snap.
Yeah.
There's no low
No, there
in
isn't.
spirit world, so I thought that was really cool.
I
And then just
agree.
one other thing that I wanna be clear is, like, the healing that you and I went through wasn't to earn our baby.
No.
Like, the healing we went through was our choice in this lifetime so that we could
Hmm.
feel deeply connected to spirit and
Yeah.
more fulfilled on the journey to things and more present in our journey of motherhood with our
Yeah.
children and with ourselves, the relationship they have with ourselves. So it's not like I'm healing to earn my baby because when it gets really transactional like that, that's when you're just playing the universe. That's
Yes. Yes.
healing. That's like, oh, I'm gonna, and I know that very well. Where I'm like, oh, I'm healing, so I should be getting my baby, and it's like, no,
Yep.
the healing is the intimacy that you get to feel with yourself, the vulnerability that you carry yourself through, the less shame, the less hiding, that's the win, that's the success of healing. It isn't to get something out of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think there was so many things similar to like checkboxing along life. There's so many things that once you start your fertility journey, you feel like I have to try this. And then if that doesn't work, I move on to this. And it's no different. You're still checking boxes, which is so fucking frustrating. But it's really no different than life. Western medicine tells you have to wait a year. And then they tell you have to try this procedure. And then you try this. And then if that doesn't work, you move over to IVF or all the different acronyms or whatever. And it's like, similar to what you're saying, you feel like I have to do these things to make it happen. Same with when I got into holistic. measures. It was like, I have to try acupuncture to earn this baby. I have to try therapy to earn this baby. I have to try
Mhm.
all these things. And it's just like these lies that we tell ourselves, I
Yeah.
feel. And
Yes.
very similar to what you're saying. Like, that's what's going to lead to me earning my baby, but it's not something you earn.
No, it isn't. It's something that you receive.
Right, right. Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah. I didn't have this on the outline, but I am curious. Did you ever try to connect with spirit babies? Did you
Oh,
ever do
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought you did a podcast on it at one point.
Yeah. Oh my god, yes, I did. At first, again, it was, like, very transactional. Like, my letter, because I used to write letters to the spirit of my baby.
Cool.
But it would be like, "I'll do anything for you."
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It was like this letter of desperation of, like, "I will be you'll be my everything," and later realizing, actually, a human doesn't want that
Hmm.
from you. Right? You want, because if I'm seeking my happiness in my child, they do not have the freedom to actually live their own lives,
Very
right?
well said.
Like they're thinking they need to make me happy, so they're gonna do what they think I think is right, and that is a really toxic relationship.
Hmm.
So I think the spirit of my babies needed to know that I was a mother that was not seeking my joy or my worth or my pleasure or my happiness from them. And therefore, they would then have the freedom to live these lives that they are coming here to live, which is,
Yeah.
which I don't get to decide once they're adults, right? Like I can
Right.
guide now and I can encourage them and I can and provide them with as much conscious parenting as possible. Like, so the last letter I wrote before I got pregnant was to my son. And I was like, I'm giving up trying to be perfect. I was like, I love coffee. I'm drinking coffee. I love to have fun, so I'm just gonna continue having fun, and if you want to come here, wonderful. This isn't I don't need you anymore. I would love to have you, but, like, I feel whole,
Yeah.
and so it was more of, like, less of a letter to him and more of a letter to me that was just
Clearly.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was just this beautiful surrender and into my humanity, into my what I loved and not feeling guilty or ashamed of it anymore. I always thought like, coffee is supposed to be the worst, one of the more difficult things on your fertility. And I just love coffee, right? And so finally I just was like, I'm drinking coffee.
Yeah. Yep.
And I wrote it that, and so coffee was really just the symbolism of I don't have to sacrifice what I love to get and to have the life that I want, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And not feeling ashamed and not feeling guilty with that. So, like, the lead up to my pregnancy, I would have my coffee, but I would, like, drink it with such bliss. I think for so many years, I drank it like, "Oh, I'm screwing up my chances," or, "I really
Yeah.
want it that bad."
Yeah.
And this time, it was like, "Oh, it tastes so good," or, "Oh, I love the little buzz I'm getting from this," or
Yeah.
it was like the ritual. So I let myself, like, fully receive that experience of it. And yeah, it was really cool to know that my last letter to him when he was in spirit form was just like this surrender of my imperfections, the surrender of the surrender of who I was and not needing to contort who I was in order for him to approve of me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. There's just so much from that. I mean, one thing that you talked about is how I feel like in the Western world specifically, like you have all these rules that we try to follow, like with caffeine, with alcohol intake, with what you eat, what you
Sugar,
shouldn't eat.
dairy,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it can ruin you. I mean, it can literally, you think it's like a rule book that you have to follow to have a baby. But, and then the other part of that is like the energy that you bring to certain rituals, whether it be, yeah, drinking coffee for you, but even like every time I would do yoga, am I doing this because I feel I have to ground myself in order to earn that baby?
exactly.
Or am I doing this from more of a place of surrender because I just truly love how it feels when I'm grounded and present in the moment and I'm showing up as my next level self? And the energy you bring to these rituals or these practices changes everything. Even just like the energy of you showing up to your business every day, like it just changes
Everything.
everything. Yeah.
I've always said it's not about what you do, but how you do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, it's how you do things is the fuel of that action, right? So if you're doing it as sacrificial and you're doing it as like, I'm trying to earn it, like, there's no aliveness in what you're doing. It's just
Mhm.
all transactional energy, and it's kind of like this empty fuel that you're using. But if you're doing it because you are feeling worthy of fulfillment now, you feel worthy of receiving the joy of the ritual right now, then my God, that is worthiness,
Yeah.
right? If you're
Yeah.
like, actually, I'm allowed, I give myself permission to feel the joy of this moment.
Yeah.
Um, and that is actually the most I think we think that something is withholding our worth, like, we're like, something outside of us is not feeling like I know, like, maybe if you were brought up in a very religious background, you think God is waiting to deem you worthy. Or when we're trying to conceive, we think the baby is going to eventually deem us worthy, but it is always
Mhm.
us. And if we're
Yeah.
withholding what we love, what brings us pleasure, and in other words, restricting ourselves, like, when we talk about the rules of restriction, we're, like, shrinking,
Mhm.
becoming smaller, when pregnancy is all about literally expanding,
Yeah. Yeah.
growing that belly and, growing your life, expanding your life with adding another child to it. So, I think it's really important to know that we are the ones that are withholding our worth and our joy when we are believing that we need to sacrifice ourselves and what we love in order to have the life that we want.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I'm sure you get a lot of women. I'm sure over the years you've had a lot of women come to you and have probably gone through all those rules of like, I've gotten rid of gluten, I've gotten rid of dairy, I don't drink alcohol, I don't drink coffee. And they probably think you're going to give them, well, I mean, if they've actually like looked into your program, they know you're not going to give them like another rule to follow, but they they learn from your program that it's not a rule book that you follow, that it's a mindset shift that you have to make internally. And then the other piece of that, like you mentioned, is learning that self worth is inherent and not something you have to earn. Is there, I've read your success rates. I know they're extremely high. And that was one of the
Mhm.
reasons I was like, it's either adoption or Spencer. What, which direction am I going to go? But what's like for listeners who are going through this season, who are struggling to show up as their next level self because they feel like my next level self is a mom? How do I start showing up as a mom when the baby isn't here? Like, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that I would probably challenge, like, if you were a client asking me that question, I would probably challenge the belief that your next level self is a mom.
Oh, cut. Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah, like, it's
Yeah.
thinking and believing that, again, the mom is everything, the mother is
Mhm.
everything, the worth is your mother. And again, then we're just tying so much of our worth to this one identity when we are so many things as women, which I love. I mean, it can be
I
overwhelming,
agree.
different types of hats we wear, but I love
I agree.
that I can be like, in one day, I could be like 5 different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my personality loves that, like, and then when I am other things, when I come home and I see my kids, I'm like, it's not that I love them so much more, but I'm like so much more I have so much more capacity for them when
Mhm.
I am feeding the other parts of myself.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if we don't
So
know how to feed
true.
the other parts of ourselves on the journey too, it'll be 1,000 times more challenging when you become a mother to do that.
Mhm. So true. Oh my gosh. I never thought of it like that, but you're so right. I am very much a multifaceted healer, entrepreneur. I want to, I'm getting trained actually this weekend in hypnotherapy. So I'm officially
Nice.
going to be calling myself a certified hypnotherapist. And then after I get done with that, I want to get certified in sound healing. And all these things interest me, and I truly just love that in the entrepreneurial world, like, you get to decide all the hats you wanna
Mhm.
wear, and I think what has made it in Augie's first year of life, I still went away to conferences that were important to me. I still I signed up for this training, and I think it could be so easy to be like, we waited 7 years for this child. No way in hell am I leaving him to go get
Yes, we blamed
certified.
ourselves, yes.
Yes, like, there's no way I'm gonna leave for this conference. I went last year, I can go next year, like, but I still had to pour into it. My entrepreneur hat is a big part of my identity, and I just wasn't willing to throw in the towel on those things because she still needed to be fed too, and I could see how it could be so easy to feel guilty pouring into those other hats that we wear, those other roles that we carry. But you learn how to pour into my mom hat. I learned how to pour into my entrepreneurial hat, my therapist hat, my coach hat, like my wife hat. Like you just learn how to wear them all. Not that that's evenly balanced because I think work life balance is, I don't know if I believe in that, but
No.
that's another podcast for another day. But you just learn the time and the place to pour into which role.
Yeah,
And you don't do it with guilt. That's the beautiful thing of it is like, I don't feel guilty that I'm leaving this weekend for this training, and a month from now I'm leaving for another one. Like I could easily feel guilty because how can you leave him after waiting 7 years for this? You should want to be with him every minute of every day. That's the shame part talking.
that is shame.
That's, yeah. Yep. And recognizing that is huge.
So they say that people that have struggled with fertility have like a much higher rate of postpartum depression and anxiety.
Mm,
And my assumption based on the many women I've coached in my own personal experience of postpartum is that we have this belief that, oh, I should want to spend every waking minute with my child, or I should just be grateful. I can't admit that this is hard. I can't admit that I want help. I can't admit that I need space from my child, which I think leads to a lot of these mental health disorders, particularly in that first year. So
yeah.
I think it's really important to know that just because you wait longer than most, or you're still, if anything, like hopefully that journey has taught you that you have full permission to be and wear other hats that make up the fullness and the wholeness of who you are. And that is, if your fertility journey didn't, it's like, it's so cool because my fertility journey taught me that I know how important it is to not let that go in my motherhood journey.
Let's talk about something that drives me absolutely crazy. We have been conditioned to believe that fixing our health has to come with a trade-off. Want better sleep? Cool, here's a pill. Oh, but here's some grogginess, dependency, and a list of other side effects. Are you struggling with your hormones? Here's medication that might help one thing, but then it's going to mess up 3 other things. It's exhausting. And honestly, it's BS. When I was going through my fertility journey, I hit a breaking point because every medication came with side effects that impacted my physical and my mental health. And I finally got to a point where I was thinking, there has to be a better way. I refuse to accept that this is just how it has to be. That's when I found Earthly Wellness, and it completely shifted how I approach my health. Here's what I love about Earthly. They believe you should be empowered to make your own informed health choices. They create herbal remedies and body care products that support your health naturally with clean, non-toxic ingredients that you can actually recognize and pronounce. There's no side effects, no junk, no parabens, no fragrance, preservatives, or common allergens like corn, soy, gluten, dairy, or nuts. Just pure, effective products that actually work. I started with their Goodnight Lotion and Immune Aid Vitamin C, and then I got into their tinctures, and honestly, every single product I've tried has been a game changer in my life. They've supported me through my fertility journey, and I genuinely would not recommend them if I didn't believe in them wholeheartedly. And I'm not the only one, you guys. I've heard from clients and listeners who've experienced incredible shifts as well. One person said, my sleep has improved a ton since using the gut health oil. It in April, and almost 2 months later, my sleep has sustained. Another person shared, my menstrual cycle has been off for years, and the only supplement I added was the gut health oil. Since starting it, my cycle has been more regular. Here's the thing, our society has normalized living with symptoms. It's messed up. Thyroid issues, hormonal imbalances, heavy, painful periods, daily bloating. We've been told that's just how it is. It's normal. But you guys, it doesn't have to be. These are symptoms, and there's an underlying root cause for all of them. Earthly has products that support not just the symptoms, but the root of what's going on. As a mental health therapist, I recommend Earthly products to my therapy clients all the time. I always suggest trying something holistic first and foremost, something that won't create dependency or side effects, and Earthly delivers on that every single time. They have products for all ages, body care, herbal remedies, vitamins, cleaning products, baby products, skincare. It's truly a one-stop shop for anyone who's ready to take their health into their own hands. So if you're tired of the side effects, tired of Band-Aid solutions, or just ready to invest in your health the right way, head to earthly.com using the link in my show notes. And here's the best part. If you're a first-time customer, you can use code CHOOSENATURAL, that's all caps, CHOOSENATURAL, for 10% off. If you're a returning customer, you can use code COMEBACK for 10% off. That's all caps, COMEBACK for 10% off as well. Your health is an investment. Make it a clean one.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. And I don't know. I also think with the most respect, if you are putting all of your worth into being a mom and you're putting all of your identity into that hat solely, and your marriage comes second and everything else comes second, you are going to suffer when you are an empty nester. Like you are probably going to land right back into that depression state. You are going to struggle. You probably will have an identity crisis of some kind. It's no different than people that pour solely into their business or career and everything else comes second. And then when retirement hits, they are lost.
Yeah.
And they have, again, an identity crisis. And so it really does come down to one, the shame obviously is a big part of it. And also like your worth not being tied to all of these titles, all of these hats that you wear.
I also
Yeah,
just think we're more fulfilled when we are more than one thing.
totally.
To
Yeah.
get again, to just keep it more about the journey. Like, I think I love being a wife. I love being a mom. I love having these types of conversations with you in my business. I love going out for lunch with my girlfriends. I
Yes.
love going on a walk and being completely by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I love shopping. I love it's not even just these productivity roles, but I love
Right.
just living and doing fun things too. And I think it's really important for us to know that. I mean, it's also depending on your upbringing, it's really important to know that you have permission to be more than one thing too. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think based on how we were raised, it can be difficult to give ourselves permission to be more than one thing because of so then again, it's not so much a mindset thing, but for me, what I'm actually learning about more and more as I am educating myself more on the nervous system, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually like it's actually nervous system work. So when we're feeling like we need to be just, or when we've been kind of, our nervous system believes that we only have permission to be one thing, and we start to creep into learning about something new or doing something that doesn't fall into that one identity. I think the nervous system will push back. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of my girls inside of my program, Fertility, Mind, Body Mastery. They're is it okay to not hover around the fertility journey? Do I have to hover around her? Am I actually okay to move over here and go on that vacation with my husband? Am I actually okay to what else are they doing? Go horseback riding? Am I actually okay to just not obsess about the diet and kind of decide
Mm-hmm.
I'll I'll use my body as a compass, and maybe I'll eat foods that give me energy and not need to restrict? Am I actually okay to not hover over one thing? Because a lot of us believe that if we're not, putting all of our attentions and our hypervigilance into the one thing, then how is it going to happen?
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I think that I love to use kind of the metaphor of planting a seed in a garden,
Mm.
right? My book is called Fertile Ground. So imagine planting a seed, right? Which is the fertility journey, and just watching it, just looking at it. The world, planet Earth is showering it with rain. The sun is giving it, its warmth. And you're just staring at this seed and you're like, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Whereas really, we can give it its space and you can go do your thing and come back and see the progress, but it doesn't have to be something that we hover over, something that we scrape at, something that we obsess over and
Mhm.
work. But I think it takes
Yeah.
this it takes this kind of nervous system conditioning to create small amounts of safety to know that we are safe in other categories of life. And Stephanie, like, tell me where I'm wrong, but when you first had your son, you probably went on one outing,
Mhm.
long after, and you're like, okay, we all survived.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I'm safe. Like,
Yep.
he's safe. Like, I
Yeah.
can trust other people. You didn't all of a sudden leave for the first time a week away from him.
Right.
I'm assuming so. I
No,
assume,
it took us a month before we did our first date night, and I
yeah.
mean, I surprised myself. I was the calm one that night. My husband was the anxious, nervous wreck that night. And we only drove 10 minutes away for supper. So it's not like
Yeah.
we were like a half hour down the road, but,
Mhm.
and we didn't just have one person watching him. We had my mother in law, my father in law, and my sister in law at the house watching. Yeah.
My gosh. Right.
Yeah.
So your nervous system needed to build safety in this new experience
Yes.
of
Yep.
trust and of space and of distance. And so I'd say for any of these listeners to know that if you're wanting to be more than this one thing, if you're wanting to like branch out and broaden your identity and the wholeness of who you are as a woman in general, not as a mother, but as a woman, start small. You will take these small steps, getting to know what lights you up, what gets you
Yes.
excited, what brings you pleasure, what makes you feel
Yes.
good,
Yes.
and these small moments, you're like, I actually feel like a little bit lighter. Like, oh, wow, I had a cheeseburger and like I didn't die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, I went out last night and I actually laughed so hard that my stomach hurt and I feel great today. So
Yeah.
maybe I can stop referencing the outside world on what I could and should do and can actually start consulting and trusting myself in what's feeling good and what's making me feel more whole as an individual as opposed to needing something in order to be okay.
I love that. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of good things that I could speak to. A part of me wonders if the reason that we feel like we have to pour into one identity so much is because as little girls or as children in general, we're always asked the question of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my mom would have like shit a brick if I had been like, I want to be a coach and a therapist, and I'm going to be a sound healer, and I'm going to do hypnotherapy, and I'm going to be a podcast host. I mean, she would have been like, slow the F down, child. Who do you think you are? And that's with her own self worth wounds, probably like not trying to diminish me by any
They
means, but
didn't
like,
have, like, I don't think they had as much freedom as we do now.
God, no, no. And I
They did.
think
Yeah.
it's amazing probably for them, for our moms to watch us be these multifaceted human beings. I mean, I'm sure we're partly living out their dreams,
Yeah.
inherently. And so it's interesting. I can't help but wonder if like that's partly why we think like, no, I have to be a mom. You have to put your career on the back burner. I mean, I think that's just a very old-fashioned way of looking at motherhood in general, because maybe our moms weren't told they can be all the things and do all the things like we potentially were. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think I think that it's not one thing or the other thing. You're
No.
not or a working person. Like,
Right.
I feel like I'm not a working mom. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I don't know what I am, and
Yeah.
I don't need to like necessarily label it. And
Yeah.
sometimes best of both worlds, and sometimes it's really really hard. But one thing that both my mom and my mother-in-law said to me when they kind of started to see what version of motherhood that I kind of came up with was like, we didn't know we had any other option. They both said that without knowing that each other said that.
Amazing.
And I think we just have to see ourselves as pretty lucky or pretty blessed. First of all, for our fertility journeys, for kind of highlighting that for us and
Yeah.
giving a journey of and the road of choice and of options and for seeking our worth in other things besides motherhood, but also just at this day and age, it's there are I think that we are kind of the generation that we're kind of breaking that generational pattern of believing that you're either a working mom or you're a stay-at-home mom, and no,
Yeah.
very more than that. We can be more than that, which is really liberating and really freeing.
I would agree. Yeah. I do want to point out this is something that I wanted to make sure I brought up at some point in our interview today is what I loved. One of the things that I loved most about your book, because there's many things, is I love how you took the term fertility and you like made it into this entity. It's like
Being
you're this being, yeah, like literally like a being, like you
she is.
separate it from yourself and
She
you
is.
it's so important to do that, and I didn't know until I read your book that I needed to do that. I needed to separate from her a little bit and not make her like this identity that I'm wearing, like, "Oh, I'm Stephanie Ding Mom. We're going through the fertility journey. Nice to meet you." You have to separate from that because it consumes you otherwise, and I think that's also important when you're trying to surrender, is not letting it consume you so much. That for me was like I think it was like at the end of every chapter or something, you had something about
Fertility wants you to know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were so powerful for me. If I flip back through, all the pages that I still have folded over are almost always a page that says fertility needs you to know. And I'm like, okay, all right, already, I get it, and those are so powerful though. It's such an important lesson, I feel.
Yeah, I find so for me, how she took form was like a bit of a being state. She was like a bit of an entity, which and I feel like anytime I tried to pin her down, she was like, "Bye." Where and then anytime I was like, I kind of just was willing to see her as an extension of life and to see her as an extension of aliveness. Like fertility is life. Like,
Yes.
how can we expect to create life, to conceive life, to hold a life if we are not willing to be living our life? And
Mm.
so I started to see her as just representing life, representing feeling alive. And as soon as I started to see her as that, she really started to reveal herself to me. She really started to like drop little breadcrumbs of clarity and of understanding of her. And I think it's so cool because who she is, in my opinion, is very different from what we've been told. Like,
Mm.
we're told fertility is restriction, fertility is physical, fertility is sacrifice, fertility is something that you make happen and that some people have, but some people don't. And that's not who she is. Like she's a lot more, I think, welcoming if we're willing to allow her to be different from what we think that she is,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
in my
beautiful.
opinion.
Yeah. I I think that tied with the self-worth lesson were the two biggest things I needed to take out of that.
Mhm.
It was realizing I think it was also in that realization that I had my eyes open to like, okay, well, if my worth isn't tied to the fertility journey, then it's tied to being a successful entrepreneur or whatever, and it's those two lessons was like, they hit me like a ton of rocks. Like you don't know what you don't know. And so you don't always know that you're tying your self worth to something outside of you until something like hits you like a boulder. And then you realize, oh, wow, this is so important. That tied with the separating fertility from me, making her into this separate entity. It was huge for me. And I'm sure for many of your listeners. And even like the gals going through your coaching program, I'm sure it was to me that has to be like a groundbreaking takeaway or lesson.
Yeah. What about the self-worth resonated with you?
As a therapist and a perfectionist, I just don't think I realized that I was tying my worth to these other things. I thought I had done therapy for 10 years. I had worked through everything. I am not, the perfect therapist does not have a self worth wound. And so I just
The
thought,
perfect
like,
therapist, not human. She is
right,
robot.
she's a robot. Yeah, exactly. And so I guess I didn't want to believe that I was tying it to something else, and it was reading your book and then reading Worthy by Jameson
Yes.
Lima that I was like, after your book, I realized, oh, I was tying my worth to this role of wanting to be a mom. And then I thought I had worked through that. And then I read her book and that was right after my first Powerhouse Women conference, and I had realized, like, shit, I actually am still tying my worth to something else. Like, now it's
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur, being a successful, thriving business owner, and that's what will make me worthy. And now finally, it's like, no, and I tell it to clients all the time. It's no different than telling somebody like fear and faith can't live in the same house. They can't coexist together. You can't believe you are worthy, believe that you're inherently worthy, and also feel like you have to earn it somehow. Those two things cannot coexist. You either believe that you are worthy because God, source, universe tells you you are,
Mhm.
or you don't. Like, you can't. They just can't coexist. And
Mhm.
that's when I read that from Jamie's book. That's when I was like, there. I'm still trying to make them coexist, but they don't. Which means I had to admit to myself that there is still a sliver of me that is trying to earn my worth.
Mm.
But it was no longer through the fertility journey at that point, it was through my entrepreneurial journey, so
I had one of my coaches say to me, she's like, "You know what? We're always just forgetting and remembering,
totally,
forgetting
totally.
and remembering." And I think that is really powerful to know because when you do realize, "Oh, shit, I'm caught up in that
Yeah.
again,"
Yeah.
you offer yourself compassion and come back because I'm always forgetting and remembering. And, I've had 2 babies and I live a really big, beautiful, abundant life, but I'm still a human with imperfections and a dysregulated nervous system from time to time. And I get a
Mhm.
temper and I get angry and I get sad and I get emotional. And I'm so many things because I have a highly sensitive nervous system. Like I feel everything. And
I
so
bet.
it's been really one of the biggest gifts, I would say, of my fertility journey that I've carried with me for all of these years is this acceptance piece of my humanity, like of I will always forever be forgetting and remembering. And I will probably often get trapped in a shame perfectionism loop, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and worried about what I should do versus what I really want. And that's okay. And actually, like the deeper I allow for my humanity and my humanness, the more connected I feel to spirit, which is the coolest paradox to hold
Yeah.
because I didn't come here to ascend from humanity. I didn't come here to ascend from my deep emotions and my sadness and my anger. Like, I came here to feel it all, and I think what most of us are being asked is how to be in the acceptance of our humanity, not in the ascension of it. And so when we can unshame that part of us that thinks we should rise above it or be better or know better is when the compassion rises up and allows for us to fuck up and fail and forget
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that's when I feel most connected to God, to spirit, to myself, and
Yeah.
I'm in my most deeply surrendered state, right? Because I don't need to control my emotions. I don't need to control who I am. I don't need to control even what's happening externally. If I can be in the compassion for my humanity, then then I can surrender because I don't need to be perfect anymore.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I that's a huge piece of surrender as well, and what I think has been cool about that is offering my sons that lesson, you know? I picked up my 3-year-old from school, and he was like, "I really miss back," because he went to his friend's house after school, and I said, "Me too." Like, I was
Oh,
like, "You don't have to miss him, it's okay, he'll be home soon," like
right.
or I wasn't like, "Okay, no more crying, like, don't be upset." It was like I want him home too. Like, I miss him. Like, and we were
Yeah.
both gonna as soon as I let my children have their experience, like, it's like a switch flicks and they feel so relieved to know that they're witnessed in their experience of emotional depth as opposed to shamed in needing it to be gone in order for me to be okay.
True. Mhm.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's this huge kind of deep acceptance that will always probably be stuck in searching for our worth externally. I mean, I'm sure Oprah still does it from time to time. I'm
Yeah.
sure Amy still does it. I know I
Yeah.
still do it. And the point isn't for that to never happen again. The point is to offer ourselves compassion when we do. And that is
Mm.
the gift, I believe, that we can
Yeah.
offer ourselves.
I love that. Yeah, forgetting and remembering. That's such a
Yeah, I
good
love it.
lesson from that. Yeah. So pivoting slightly, speaking of pivoting, you are kind of in this new stage of entrepreneurism where you are considering, or you aren't considering, you are pivoting and figuring out what those next steps are going to be for you. How have these lessons that you've gained over the last X years of coaching? I don't even know how many years you've been doing it for, but how are those lessons now being carried over into this new season of like unknown? Like what is this new season of entrepreneurship going to look like, and how am I going to carry these lessons into building whatever is meant to be built for you?
Yeah, I think that I'm pivoting away from just strictly fertility coaching, right? Like I'm pivoting away from fertility being my only niche. And I think I'll be branching out into just a more broader range of womanhood and motherhood and businesshood and moneyhood and anxietyhood and like
Mhm.
all of these parts of us as human beings and as women in particular in this modern day world. And how do we navigate it without feeling crippled by shame and anxiety? How do we feel more worthy of our desires as opposed to, well, I should just be grateful for what I have? How
Mhm.
do we not make resistance mean I should stop, but actually, oof, I'm on the edge of my growth. Let's keep going, right? Like,
Mhm.
how do I continue living large when I'm feeling all of these like worst case scenario thoughts in my
Mm.
head, right? So
Yeah.
it's really about, for me right now, I don't know necessarily where exactly I'm going for
Okay.
my business, but I am experimenting with telling the truth. I'm experimenting with being honest inside of my Instagram account right now and allowing myself to be kind of visible and seen in my truth. And that's kind of where I'm being pulled right now. I think I tried to overthink my way to clarity, and that really didn't work.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to gain clarity from messy and perfect action. And so that's what I'm doing on my Instagram account right now.
I love it. Is there any part of you that it's hard to not wear that soul hat of mind, body, fertility coach anymore? I mean, you're only human, but you wore it for so long. Is there any part of you that's like resistant to no longer solely wearing that hat? Or
I'm I'm not resistant to no longer solely wearing that hat. I'm
okay.
resistant to not knowing
Yeah, okay.
where I'm landing.
Sure.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I've made the right decision, and I know I've made the right decision with that. But yeah, I don't love the messy and perfect middle.
Yeah.
No, I
Nobody
don't
does.
them being,
No.
but I'm trusting of it, and both can exist.
Love it. So you are still taking on clients for the mind body
No, I'm
fertility?
not.
You're not.
No,
Okay. Okay.
I've that in December.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
we had this huge group of women come in, which has been really
Good.
wonderful, and yeah, so now we're doing that till September, but I should have a new program or some type of online class coming out here in the next couple of months
That's exciting.
if life decides to provide me with some clarity around that, so that
Yeah.
would like a goal for sure.
I love that.
Mhm.
And even though you guys cannot do her group coaching, if you feel like that would have been a good fit for you, really read her book. I mean, I cannot
Yes.
stress that enough because at the time where I was faced with like the big decision of whether to access her coaching or not, I decided to settle with the book. I mean, that
You didn't settle.
no, I agree. That literally changed my life. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. Pick up a copy of her book if you're going through your own fertility journey. It really did crack me open. And that's as somebody who I thought I had done all the mindset work that I could do. And it just opened my eyes even wider. It was the best gift I think I could have given myself at that season where I was at that time. If somebody wants to connect with you, Spencer, what would be the best way?
On Instagram at
Okay.
Spenser Brassard, yeah. I would love
Okay.
for you to drop in my DMs and we can chat about what it is that you're going through, or you can just follow me and we can see
Yeah.
where my work takes us both because I have no idea where I'm going and I have no shame in admitting that.
No. And then are you continuing your podcast?
I'm going to start a new one.
Yes. Okay. How
Yeah.
exciting. You haven't said
No.
anything on Instagram about that. Have
No,
you?
I know I'm starting a new one. I have an idea for a name, but I don't know yet. I don't know
Okay.
for yet, but yeah, it's all, you know what I am? I'm no longer the caterpillar. that got the butterfly. I am the caterpillar that has dissolved into goo inside of the cocoon.
Okay. Yes. That's the messy middle. That's literally
So
the messy
like,
middle.
I'm cozy. I'm
Yeah.
safe,
Yep.
but I'm needing to start to like form into that butterfly. And so that's what I'm starting to do right now. And I don't know what color that butterfly is or anything, but I'm trusting the process.
That's cool. Well, I
Yeah.
can't help but think the butterfly's pink because everything brand wise for you is pink from
I
the
do
book
love
too.
pink. My boys
Yeah.
know pink. Pink is so good. I love pink.
I love it. That's awesome. I agree. I feel the same way. Will Fertile Ground podcast still exist if people want to listen
Yeah,
to?
we'll still have
Okay.
the Fertile Ground podcast. Yeah, we'll still have
Okay.
iTunes and Spotify. Yeah, and if they want my
Okay.
can search Fertile Ground on Amazon.
Yeah. So you guys, if you're going through a fertility journey and this episode really opened your eyes to the wealth of knowledge that is Spenser Brassard, go back and listen to her podcast. I
Mhm.
mean, I like to think I've listened to damn near every episode. And I wear that as a badge of honor a little bit, but I I cannot her podcast and her book for me, it it turned me on to her coaching almost. So I would say give the podcast a listen. There's so much gold in it, so many good episodes.
Mhm.
You are just a wealth of knowledge for me. And I mean, I like to think that my mindset would not be what it is today in large part because of your book and partly also because of your podcast. But there's clearly a reason that was chosen for you. And I just can imagine the numbers of women that have benefited from your wisdom over the years and how, we unfortunately live in a world where fertility is also another pandemic. And there's a need for coaches like you because I fully believe, and I believed this before I even found you, that getting pregnant is not just a science sexual thing. It is also a mindset that if you don't have a healthy mindset, I mean, I think that can really hurt your journey. And I mean that with the most
Yeah,
respect, but
for
like,
sure. But if you think about fertility as a relationship, right?
yes, yes,
Like if your relationship was solely physical, you're in a situationship, right? Like you're
yeah,
in like that's not real intimacy. That's
no,
not it's pretty surface level.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
your relationship with, your partner is based on emotional depth, mental health, physical health, and spiritual health, I mean, you're much more you're
yeah,
in a much healthier relationship, and that's the way I like to see fertility as a relationship.
yeah,
And I know a lot of people might be saying, "Well, why don't some people have to go through that? Why do I have to go through this?"
true.
The reality is everybody has their hard.
Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
has their hard, whether it's in fertility or maybe it's in finances or
Yep.
maybe it's an addiction or maybe it's some other health condition. At some point in life, everybody will have their hard. And the good news is that a lot of us are awake enough now to know that really fucking good things can come from really hard experiences.
Yep. Preach to that. Yes, I agree.
Mhm.
You already pretty much shared like what's next for you, but is there any final takeaways that you would like to share with my listeners? Is there any final lesson you want to share?
Definitely. So for high achieving women, I think one of the most important things to know is that you don't have to be everything to everyone. I think it's really important for us women to understand that we're worthy of asking for help. We're worthy of asking for what we need and that we don't need to feel bad for it. I think that's probably one of the things that a lot of high achieving women struggle with is believing that asking for what you need is a weakness, is believing that asking for a night off or asking your partner to cook dinner or asking your boss for a break or asking, you know, canceling plans or just saying no is allowed. High achieving women, I think a lot of us need to know that, one of my biggest things that I say to my girls is always just to meet yourself where you're at. And I say it a lot in the book. I repeat that a lot in the book. And I think
Yeah.
that we don't give ourselves permission to do that. If we're tired, we're like, no,
Yeah.
you can't be tired. It's like, well, if we actually met ourselves where we're at and that was the goal, then we're actually giving ourselves what we need and can move forward much sooner to the life and the goals and everything that we want. So yeah, it's just permission to ask for what you need and permission to meet yourself where you're at is I think the most important thing. Like so much of my coaching to my girls is like your bar is right here towards yourself. Just lower the bar.
Mhm.
Our perfectionist brain is so manipulative in saying, "Hey, just get this done and then everything will be okay. Just get it done and then you'll be enough. Just do that." But even when you get all of that done, the perfectionism is a moving target. So even when you finish those 10 things on the list, it'll go, "Oh wait, you didn't do that 11th thing." Because perfectionism is trained to search for what's wrong.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So I say that it's like believing perfectionism is like playing a video game with no winning level. So at the end of the day, you're trying to beat this level and it's impossible. The reality is there's no winning level programmed into the game. So the only way to win is to stop playing,
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yep.
put the controller down and go lay in bed
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
that's what you need.
Yeah. That's a great lesson. I couldn't agree more. Spencer, I really appreciate you coming on today. I like to finish all of my collabs with some rapid fire questions, and I just recently changed them to more of like this or that.
Ooh, I love it.
So,
Let's
yeah.
hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So, beach vacation or mountain resort?
Oh my God, beach. Duh. I
I know.
live in
I knew
Kansas.
that. Yeah. Well, and I just saw, weren't you just in Hawaii not too long
I
ago?
was. I
Yeah.
just the warmth, it just does something to me.
Oh, I totally agree. That's where I'm at my best. I'm my best self on the coast. So, I get that. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Coffee, we've already talked about
Yeah.
this.
We already know that. Yep. Smut book or self help book?
Self-help. I'm
Okay.
so guilty for that. I just am like, "How can I be better?"
Yep, I totally get it. Are you a night owl or a morning person?
I'm actually a night owl. I love the
Mm,
quiet. I love, like, when everyone's in bed and I'm just sitting in my bed watching, and just watching TV by myself. I just don't think
yes.
there's anything better than that.
It's the best feeling. I always say, like, I feel so connected to the moon, and I think that's why I'm a night owl, but I
See?
also just love the sun, which is why I like the coast. But yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you on that.
I
Do
don't
you
think that's something we get to choose. I think we're either a
No.
morning person or a night owl, and
Yeah,
I think it's way more wellness to be a morning person at this day and
it
age,
is. Yeah,
but I'll proudly admit that I'm a night owl.
I really am too. And I just don't foresee that changing. Like people
No,
say over years of mothering, it'll change. I'm like, no, I really don't think
no,
it will. Yeah,
no, either.
I get it. Do you prefer a night in or a night out on the town?
I think both are important.
I agree.
I like to I am a bit of a party girl, I'm not gonna lie. I need that part of me to exist every once in a while, but
I love it.
I love a night in.
Yeah.
Night in too.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a hard one because I feel the same way. I like nights out, but I really like my home and it's like my sanctuary and
When I
it
go out,
is
I'm like, "Okay, can't wait to go home."
yeah, same, same. Yep. The last girls' night I had, we just got really carried away in conversation. We looked at our phones and realized it was 10:30 and we all were like, "Oh my God, it's so late." And then we're like, "Remember when we used to stay out till 2?" And
Exactly.
not anymore. Do you prefer appetizers or dessert?
Tasers.
Okay, not really a sweet tooth person.
I'm not a sweet tooth person. Give me some chips and a pickle and a dirty martini, and I'm good.
I love it. I love that. Do you prefer flying or driving?
I don't love flying, but I love in
Where
a
it can
good
take
way.
you.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think flying is the price we have to pay to arrive somewhere beautiful,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that comfort that we need to go through.
Absolutely. Yeah. And do you prefer a podcast in your ear or jamming to your favorite song?
Music is like my regulator of my nervous system. So
Love
I'm a
it.
huge music person. So I think I would choose the best song.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I feel like in the era where like everybody who's anybody has a podcast, I
Yeah.
always just assume people are going to say that, but
Mhm.
more and more I'm hearing people say that they prefer music. So that's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Music is one of those easy, cheap ways to feel so much better and get out
Mhm.
like a lot of energy that we might build up throughout the day. So yeah, it's a great
Absolutely.
way to regulate your nervous system.
It is. I totally agree. Yeah.
You.
Spencer, I really appreciate you agreeing to come on this. I know I told you this when I first DM'd you, but I don't remember where I was at now, but I think I was in a sound healing session, actually. Yeah, and I just got that download and I was like, you just gotta put the ask out there. Worst case, she's gonna tell you no, but like she's a big person in your world and you just have to ask her and don't be generic and don't do what everyone else does. Send her a
Yes.
voice memo. Let her know you're a real person, not like a VA or a bot or anything like that, and I I'm so glad I listened to that, maybe that higher self, because yeah, it just felt so aligned. Regardless of whether listeners are going through a fertility journey or not, there's so many lessons from this episode that can be applied to just life in general. And
And you get to copy and paste. And I think that's
yes,
what's cool about Fertile Ground, the book, is I had, some people read it and they were like, oh my God, this can be applied to any area of life.
totally. Totally. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what you're waiting for. Yeah. There was even, ironically, some lessons that I applied. It's interesting. I wasn't even planning on bringing this up, but I always compared the waiting for life journey to the waiting for death journey because while we were going through our fertility journey, we also lost my grandpa. And it was like so interesting the parallels
Yeah.
between waiting for a new life to come and waiting for death to just finally come and take him already. Not out of, I just mean like when you're waiting for it, it feels exhausting
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally. And you do just get to a point where you're just like, death, will you just come already? And I just, because I was going through the fertility journey at the same time, I couldn't help but notice those parallels. And
Mm.
I did take some of these lessons and
Mm.
just thought like, oh, how interesting how that waiting journey can just really be applied to so many different facets of life, including death. And so that's another podcast for another time. But I just there's just a lot of ways you can apply these lessons. So whether you're going through a fertility journey or not, you could easily find this book earth shattering to
Yeah,
you.
and I think the book will provide you a new kind of narrative around quote unquote
Yes.
waiting.
Yes.
Um,
100% it
yeah,
could.
I
Yep.
hate the word waiting. I am a very impatient person,
Mm,
and I'm very
interesting.
decisive. So I'm
Okay.
like, I know what I want. What's taking so long? So the book will provide some insight into perspectives to take so that it doesn't feel so torturous when we're in like this area of not knowing when something's going to arrive.
Yeah, and let's be honest, in a world where we don't wait anymore, we have 2-day shipping, we have instant notifications, we can buy things and have it to your house, like, within 2 days, like, we don't wait for anything anymore, which
So,
is probably a reason why you should read this book because
mhm.
we still need to have that skill. Just because we live in a world where there's instant gratification does not mean you don't need that skill of waiting, you probably need it more than you even realize.
Yeah, I think there's a
Little
big gift
caveat.
inside of
Yeah,
that waiting available for many of us if we can take a new perspective of what it means, what we make waiting means. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's a really cool
absolutely.
perspective.
Yeah.
Well,
All
thank you
right.
so much for having me and thank you
Yeah.
for sharing how much the work has impacted you. It's always nice to receive that and to know that the work that I was invited to share about has an impact on people. So
Yeah,
thank you so
absolutely.
much for sharing that.
Yeah, not a problem. And you guys, I know you hear this at the end of every episode, but a just quick shameless plug. If you aren't following me on Instagram, feel free to give me a follow. And if you want more in-depth insight as to what we are talking about, subscribe to my weekly newsletter where I go just a little bit deeper on some of these topics. And there's some freebies available to you as well if you subscribe. So thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys all next week.
Real quick before you go, I just want to thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. And congratulations on showing up for you. Every step you take to invest in yourself brings you that much closer to your next level self, and I'm so proud of you. If you loved this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration, or take a screenshot and tag me on socials so we can keep spreading the next level you energy. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Let's freaking go!